Good morning and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how to become a Section 8 landlord and the Section 8 landlord requirements for most of you. Now, as many of you know, you can search Google, you can search YouTube, and there's a lot of great information out there and a lot of different people trying to weigh in on the subject. I am an expert in the area, so I don't really make what you're typically seeing as tips and tricks videos or a lot of these spun articles you see on Google. You know, there's a lot of misinformation, in my opinion, and I think that a lot of videos don't approach the level of actually teaching you a lot of the acronyms and many things that go into it. As many of you know, I own Section 8 Consulting.com. I consult for hundreds of landlords and thousands, over 10,000 tenants. So when it comes to these particular issues, I try to teach people all the intricacies that come along with being a landlord. And so one of the first cautionary tales I'd like to tell you is, as a Section 8 landlord, if you're trying to learn about this, you know, there's a lot of videos, and I think those are great. But however, you're looking at house flippers that have, 10, 15 houses, and they're talking about landlord requirements, and how to be a Section 8 landlord, but they're approaching it from the level of them living in the city. Look, every county and housing authority, and those of you who plan to be a Section 8 landlord, those type of videos are not going to be useful for you. Okay, I understand they're giving you some overall information, basic at very best, but that information is not going to equate into what's happening in every county in the country. So if you don't live in the place where the YouTube creator is and making his videos for, then those rules likely would be not applicable in that case. So today I'm going to give you a pretty definitive guide, and also we will be doing an extension on my website, which will be for Section 8 landlords. And I will be doing over, I think, close to 40 or 50 blog posts that are pretty definitive guides and an additional 50 videos where I will pretty much excise the whole procedure of all of it. So today, let's go over some of the things that you need to know. And this is going to be effective for all counties and all states, rather versus my personal experience. You need to know the whole game if you're going to understand this, That's what it comes down to. When I deal with housing authorities and landlords and I connect the two and get you guys incentives and get you set up, it's important that you know a hell of a lot more than what you're seeing in these little 5-minute videos, okay? So let's take a look at some of the information I put together. Hopefully you'll be able to see this pretty clearly. So first of all, before you even enter the market, one of the things you absolutely need to do is research. And this is what I do for a lot of my clients, a lot of my tenants, investors, banks, and investment groups. If you don't understand the payment standards for the area, then why would you invest or even bother to get in the market? If the housing authority is not willing to give you a decent amount of rent for the units that you're trying to make available, then you should not even bother to enter the market. However, if you already own properties, then you're kind of stuck, as it may be. Now, I do want to let you know that there are ways to negotiate with the housing authorities, directors, and other people there. If you're a professional like me, I do negotiate directly with housing authorities, their upper tier management, and often can get better prices than what you pretty much get a sticker price. A lot of you guys don't understand that backdoor process to it. So payment standards is something you need to look into and ensure that the available rents, what the housing authority is offering, is going to be worth your time to rent your property out, or for you to build a property and then determine whether or not rents would actually pay the mortgage. Now, if you go down and look here, then we can look at what they call a landlord packet. Now, there's been a lot of preaching about this. It may go by several names, but a landlord packet is basically you making that connection with the housing authority, and in there, they're going to give you a whole host of forms. Because of the way that I've designed the video, I do not want to make the video specific to a county, so I've covered all known purposes and forms to better assist you to understand what you're looking for and what you should have. So we're going to talk about standard forms down here. So we have housing assistance payments, which is going to be your HAP contract. That is the contract between you and the housing authority, and there are a lot of policies and procedures and things that you need to follow in that HAP contract. All right, so you need to make notes of these things. If I'm going too quick, make sure you bookmark this, and then later I'm going to add a link to my website, but I'm still sending this information over to editing, so for now you'll have to check back. So your HAP is what you're going to be looking for on that. Then you have what they call a request for tenancy. That's going to be your HUD 52 51-7, or better known as an RFTA. Now, this is going to be, like I said, a request for tenancy approval. That is when you approach the point that you actually have tenants coming to the property and you're looking to actually accept the application. So this is one of the forms you're going to want to have in your little basket ready to go as a landlord. Then you have a tenancy addendum, and that's goes under HUD 52641-A. And so the addendums there, not only do you have those addendums, these are specific rules that would be applicable under federal law when it comes to dealing with your Section 8 tenants. But in addition to that, one of the great things about hiring a professional like me that actually deal with the landlords and I consult directly with you on your projects is we can put in additional addendums, about 40 of them, to ensure almost every scenario that could potentially play out with a tenant, that we would have the ability to put them out, to evict, to serve 3-day notice to vacate, and make your life a lot easier. If you don't think ahead, a standard lease will not work with a lot of, it'll work, but if you don't have the right amendments built out in there to cover all the nuances of what Section 8 people could potentially do inside of your property, then you're going to be in a bad position fast. So you can't just stop at just a general lease you print off of Google, all right? Then we have a request. Excuse me. We have a request for taxpayer identification number. So these are going to be standardized forms. That's what you're going to be doing. You have to prove who you are. Obviously, driver's license, Social Security, your taxpayer identification, other personal documents proving that, in fact, that you are going to be a registered landlord with the city and that you also register with the county. Then you're going to have your inspection checklist. Now, that's something that's going to change city to city. I always find it to quite my own amusement that people like to publish definitive guides about inspections. Look, that changes every county. So in other words, a lot of these videos that you're seeing about Section 8 inspections are utterly useless. All right? Then we're going to go on to other common PHA forms, which is going to be a request for time extension. That's for your HQS. So that's inspection deficiencies. This is a counteractive form. So we all know, you will be learning in this video what HQS is, but you'll need your inspection deficiency. So if you fail, how to address that immediately after. The name of the game is being prepared, okay? So as you can see in the video that I'm making here, we're getting to the actual factual basis compared to other people giving their opinions. So let's move on with this. We have a notice of contract termination, and that's those situations where you get involved with tenants, maybe things don't work out. You need to have this ready. You don't need to be researching that for weeks while you're trying to put somebody out of your property, serve a 3-day notice to vacate, or to give eviction. So being well prepared is part of the game. Then you have move in, move out inspection forms. And additionally, when I make some more videos in regards to this, one of the new 50 videos for landlords, I'm going to explain all the recording as far as video recording, tape recording, and so on, so that you have an adequate record to prove any kind of case that you would need in court to put somebody out of the apartment under eviction in a very highly efficient manner, okay? So the main thing we're trying to distinguish here is what I do is very specific to Section 8. You're always welcome to take advice from brokers and real estate agents, but who do you think those guys call when they have problems? Me. Who do you think the banks call whenever they have a problem with Section 8 tenants? It's usually me. Nobody wants to spend the next 18 years learning what I've learned and then also have to be a broker, a real estate agent, or an attorney. I have a huge number of attorneys that call me because they prefer me to specialize and then they add it into their case. Now we're going to move on to owner certification of compliance with HUD. This is going to be tenant eligibility and rent procedures. And so it sounds just like it is. There's a lot of policies and procedures you're going to want to follow with that. And it also may also go by many, many different names. So for now, we'll just call it the owner certification of compliance, and it may change county to county. And then, of course, we're going to roll back to housing assistance payments contract, which is your HAP, HAP, or HAPC. This form is housing assistance payments, is used to provide Section 8 tenant-based assistance under the Housing Choice Voucher Program. So the HAP contract is your legal contract between you and the Housing Authority. Make no mistake, the Housing Authority is county-owned. It is not HUD. If you want to know where HUD is, that is in Washington, D.C., and that is the federal government. Okay, so I just want to distinguish that difference. Now, we're going to talk about management agreement. Now, this is something that's very particular and articulated by very small housing authorities, so this may not be something you ever see in any county in your state. So It's only out there some of the time, and I'm not going to get deep into that. But it's a management agreement. In other words, it's saying that you're going to be ethical in the way that you do manage your property. Then we have tenancy and amendments. Now, I'm going to make a whole video about this. It comes down to rules, your own rules for your property, and being able to delegate those rules in such a way that you're not discriminating and doing other things that would be unethical with your tenants. And in addition to that, HUD itself, the federal government, has weighed in, as well as your housing authority. So we do have a blend of particular rules and policies we want to implement, and then make sure that we're consistent in that manner. Then we're going to move on to Housing Quality Standards Inspection, so HQSI. Housing Quality Standard Inspection. Okay, so again, I'm going to roll back to that factor. I see a lot of videos, and you know what? I really do appreciate those YouTube artists that are trying, they're copying and looking at everybody else's information and making these cute videos. But the reality with standard inspections, you need to have an understanding how those inspections work in every county and every state if you want to get a realistic idea. Now I realize there's a lot of house flippers and other guys on YouTube just talking about this and that. And, they're showing you all the little rental properties, 10 or 15. Let me tell you something. When you get in the arena of dealing with 200 to 500 units, and you're dealing with 20, 30, and $40 million properties, and you're dealing with thousands of units, that's when you have a fine understanding of what HQSI is. You understand all the potential things that could come out of an inspection. So before you take advice for somebody flipping some old houses, you might want to actually go to a real consultant that deals at an expert level with this, because I can anticipate the moves that you'll need to be able to demonstrate before they even happen. So that's what it comes down to. You've got to quit taking tips and tricks and move into actually taking the responsibility as a landlord and your investment very seriously. And in that case, you want to hire a professional, not a talking head on YouTube. All right? Now, moving on from that, we're going to move on to rental reasonableness. Now, that is going to be more or less a guideline, and also we're talking specifically about rents. And then I think that what it does indicate is they're trying, the housing authority and HUD itself is trying to indicate to you you're just going to be able to name your price. However, that's not always true. I negotiate better prices all the time. If you've got a $40 million property and I walk in and I talk to the CEO and Director of Services for a housing authority, trust me, I will command their attention and I will negotiate better rates than they even give on their website. That's the ability that I have with dealing with hundreds of housing authorities. Now, you got Bob flipping houses on his YouTube channel, and he's got 15 wonderful houses. He's not going to be able to negotiate jack. So the thing about this is, again, going back to professionalism and understanding, the legislation, how these things are written, and how it's supposed to be implemented. So you have to make a choice where you're going to get your advice and how you're going to implement that as well. And if you're going to do rent reasonableness, as well as also hiking up the rent after your first year, then you need to really have somebody that understands it very well on your side, that's dealt with all 50 states. So, and that would be me. Now we're going to talk about family obligations agreement. This is a select tenant program participants that are issued a family obligations agreement authorizing them to use and search for a unit. If the program participant applies for a unit based on the tenant selection, and then it still goes on and on and on. So it's this is another one I'm going to have to make a specific video, because actually the explanation is rather long for it. So I think we'll just get past that part now. If you want, you can Google it, but then again, you're just going to end up on random blogs with people that really genuinely do not know what the hell they're talking about. I find a lot of that on YouTube. I would say 99.98% of everything I'm seeing written on Google is absolutely horseshit. These people have no idea. We're talking about people that are writing them on subjects they don't know. They hire an article writer that's strictly talking through the hole in the side of their mouth, A lot of that information is complete garbage, and it's not much better on YouTube. A lot of the advice I'm seeing being given is, I would compare very closely with a 3-year-old learning. It's just very basic. So we're going to move on to approval for RTA packets, and so your RFTA packets we talked about earlier, that's pretty much going to be your landlord packet, and it's going to give you a checklist of things. Now, depending on the housing authority, it depends about how much information is in there, and in some cases, housing authorities do require you to take a class in addition to packets, so every situation in every county is different. I've dealt with hundreds if not thousands of housing authorities and counties, so I do have a very wide scope of what I know. I'm not limited to just one tiny little county and that I'm an expert at flipping houses. I actually have dealt in all 50 states, okay? Moving on from that, and then we talk about the monthly rents is limited by the rent reasonableness and should not be exceeded by the payment standard. Remember, if you don't understand your payment standards before you even begin this process, what you're going to get out of the deal, then don't bother even doing it, okay? So it does designate rental submarkets or programs. Part of the research that I typically do with landlords is, if you haven't bought the property, then we'll investigate every zip code in every county, and we'll find out which housing authorities are offering the most. Then we're going to look at how many keys, in other words, doorknobs that you're willing to buy. We'll compare that at a ratio of how many units you're going to have, how much you're paying, and how quickly we can get your money back. And then we're going to top that with incentives, and I'll get deeper into incentives. In some cases, you can get up to $1 million worth of incentives, depending how big of a landlord you are. Now let's go on to another thing, housing discrimination. A lot of you guys still think that you're going to do whatever you want to do when it comes to doing applications and speaking to people. Look, you have to be absolutely consistent. There is an extra layer of federal rules that are pretty much encompass Section 8 tenants, and these are people that own housing choice vouchers. You would be crazy to think that a lot of these people are not apprised of their own rules. If you think they don't understand their rights, a lot of them do, and some of them are a nightmare to have. Trust me, that's another reason why you would want to have me on your in your phone, because look, if they detect that you're discriminatory, whether by race, religion, gender, anything like that, or if you're unfairly checking some credit scores compared to others, whether you're basing your opinions on whether you like somebody or don't like them, they surely can haul you in to the Department of Housing. And not only will you be booted from the program, but other penalties can be leveled against you, and HUD will sue you. So it's a very delicate game you're playing. That's why I tell people, if you're not willing to deal with a professional, you're going to get yourself in trouble with all these different talking heads and blogs and articles giving loose advice about stuff. And a lot, like I said, going back to articles and videos, a lot of this stuff, man, is written based on information they've already gotten from other people. And in fact, a lot of this stuff's just old, not applicable. The rules and policies change every year. If you're not in tune with that, with what the president's doing, what legislation and what changes have been done on a year-to-year basis, then you really don't know. So watching old videos won't even help you. So, as I said, we need to be fair and reasonable in that respect of discrimination, how we handle people. All applicants must be essentially, you must process them in the same way, and you must be able to prove that. If there's anybody questioning that integrity of the process, then a lot can happen to you. So, I know I spoke very quickly. I wanted to get into this. I wanted this for us to be an introduction of what I know and how I know to do it for you. Now, as I said there, I'm going to be creating a whole page specifically on my website. It will be dedicated to landlords, and we will be approaching somewhere around 50 to 100 blogs that are very definitive guides. It's not going to be advice I'm going to be delivering to you. I'm going to tell you step by step legally how to do things, okay? If you want advice, there are lots of clowns making videos and writing articles. You're welcome to that garbage, but I can tell you right now, it's going to raise more questions than answers. The second thing is, besides linking up a page for you there, I'm going to be linking you up with the blog page. So it's going to take time to have my editor and content writers take care of that. And so I would say bookmark the video, and then I'm going to give you a procession of about 50 videos and probably close to 100 articles, and I'm going to give you a highly detailed guide. And that's in lieu of being able, if you want to hire me to assist you on your development, your property, or your projects, that's great. I do work with the city, county, nonprofits, all the way up. There's a great deal more you can get out of things. And so I'm going to leave us with incentives. Incentives are things that most landlords don't even understand they can get. They don't know how to implement it. They don't know how to negotiate them. Just like the rent, just because the housing authority names its rent doesn't mean that's necessarily what it has to be. I can renegotiate rents. I can negotiate incentives. I can get housing authorities to pay for all damages. They can give you $5,000 a key, which means somebody that's taking on a lease, they can pay you $5,000 a person. So there's a tremendous amount of money and other things that you could get out of this before you even open the door. One of the unique advantages of me using me is, like I just told the last guy that signed me for 100 units, we'll have every tenant waiting at the door on the day of opening. I'll start 90 days before the building is actually finished being built. I'll line up all the tenants and have them ready to move in day one. So why play with it? So you could spend weeks and years or months if you want, just ramshackling through all the information on the internet, hoping and wishing you get it right, or you can speak with a consultant, and I can run you through this like a streak of lightning, get you set up, and then I'm fairly confident once you get a taste of what I know and some of the more than 11,000 manuals that I have, I think you'll see that I'm the easiest path to getting what you need as a landlord so you can control and maintain this and be successful. So I really enjoyed talking with all of you, and again, I apologize for it being long, but I'm going to make, like I said, other videos to help you guys out. Look, it's been a pleasure, it's been an honor, and I look forward to speaking to all of you. Bye-bye.